Hey guys, welcome to another RS3 video, and today I'm going to go over a general guide to how to prepare for bosses, more specifically what kind of levels, what kind of gear, and what kind of consumables you should take with you. And I'm not going to go too much into individual bosses. I'm going to sort of group bosses based on what I feel is the level you need for them. There are some bosses which I have not done personally, but I have asked my friends and clanmates for advice on this. So first of all, I'm going to jump into pre-level 70 bosses. Now these are the KBD, the Mole, and the Chaos Elemental. Now Chaos Elemental obviously is in the worldy, so take stuff that you can afford to lose, and I'm not going to go into free-to-play for KBD and Mole. That's maybe another topic for another day. So I would recommend as like a minimum requirement before fighting these are level 60 armor and weapons. You're going to want 43 prayer and 60 plus combat skills in the discipline that you're going to be fighting with. The 43 prayer because of protection prayers like protect from melee, protect from range, protect from magic. Consumable wise, I would recommend monkfish, nothing lower, but the higher you go the better. I'd recommend defense potions and restore and prayer potions, and potions for the discipline that you're using, so magic or ranging or attack and strength if you're doing melee, so take both those. So I would recommend, like, you only need to take one of these potions for 4 kills, because bosses often don't take too long to kill. Fill the rest of your inventory up with food at this level. One note is for the KBD, you are going to want to bring some really heavy anti-fire protection. So super anti-fire potions are obviously ideal, but not everyone at this level has 85 herb lore. So I would recommend Dragonfire Shield, which does require level 70 defense, and your damage is going to suck if you wear a shield, but it's better than getting frozen, poisoned, etc. because a normal anti-fire shield or anti-fire potion won't work against the KBD. For level 70 to 80 bosses, so these include the Zami, Saradomin, Bandos, and Armadillo bosses in Good Wars. It includes Barrows, the standard Barrows, not Rise of the Six. That's much higher level. Calphite Queen, Exiled Calphite Queen, Dagon of Kings, Jad from Fight Caves, and Harakan, which is Harakan honestly is a joke of a boss. You really don't need anything for him, but you do need stuff for the Jads. So, okay, what kind of equipment? First of all, I'm going to quickly say for equipment for Jad and Harakan, it's best to have obsidian armor if you have it. If you don't, then follow this guide. So you're going to want level 70 armor, preferably power armor. So that's the armor, the bandits, and the subjugation. For range, you can go away with Royal Dragonhide for some of these bosses. I would not recommend it because it really lowers your DPS. I'd take the expensive tier, like level 70. Barrow's armor and gear is acceptable for these bosses as well, so feel free to use those. I would recommend level 75 weapons if you're not using Barrows. So That's like your Armadale crossbows, your armor battle staff, which is actually 78 rather, and for melee, like Saradomin sword or Zami spear. Or if you're in Goblins, you can probably base this on what wing you're fighting. For levels, 43 prayer, because protect from prayers. I would recommend also to have level 70 plus in all combat skills you're going to use, so in your chosen discipline. And I would say, like for Goblins, you want to have level 70 in a number of skills as well, because they're like, you have to get through the actual entrance into the wing. So yeah, consumables, I recommend I recommend sharks or tuna potatoes. I always use sharks because they're marginally cheaper and there's not too much difference, but tuna potatoes are actually really good. I use them on lava strike webs because they're much cheaper than rocktails. You also want to be using super defense potions against most of these bosses, because these bosses your defense does count. Later bosses the defense doesn't count too much, and plus later on you have overloads. I would recommend taking super restore potions, because like your protection prayers are so important to keep on. In fact, you can't do Jad without protection prayers, so you need a lot of potions for a fight case. I would also say like some potions of magic, ranging. These super potions, man, use super magic, super range, and then super attack and defense and super attack and super strength. God, I can't get my words out. Then fill the rest of your inventory up with food. If you want to take a piece of burden, that's entirely possible. Fill that up with food. Make sure you can renew it, because too many times I've lost a piece of burden after so many kills, and I'm like, I've got loot in there, and it sucks. Now we get into some of the big and the more difficult bosses in the game. So these are level 80 to 90 bosses, and these are the Ascension bosses, QBD, which I'm actually doing the video on now. Don't use this as a QBD guide. I'm crap at QBD, and I complain about it too much. Next, and Corporeal Beast. So equipment you're going to want for this are going to be level 70 armor, so that's your power armor. I would say this is the point where Barrows stops being useful. You want power armor, the goblin stuff. So weapons, I would recommend level 80 plus weapons. So for like chaotics, basically, Armadale battle staff is fine. Royal crossbow is fine. Whatever melee equivalent. Yeah, I'd say chaotics are sort of what you're looking at to do these bosses, but anything higher is never a problem. Now, unfortunately, this is where the level requirements start becoming big. Now, don't take it from me and do like QBD, for instance, without Soul Split. I'm making a huge loss by doing it by having to eat so many rocktails. But for these bosses, you're gonna want that big 92 prayer with curses for Soul Split. That's for some of these bosses like next. That's not even a choice. You need that to survive. I would recommend 85 plus in combat skills. Now this time I don't just include like your health, your discipline and your defense. I mean like all the combat styles. So 85 plus range, melee, well, range, attack, strength, magic, defense, health. I'd also recommend 52 plus summoning. Now the reason for this is because you get a good familiar, spirit turbide, which I find is enough for some of these bosses in terms of how much food you can store in it for the boss. And I would recommend level 96 Herblore for the overloads. Now these bosses are sort of when you sometimes need like different attack styles. You might need multiple attack styles, and really this is where bossing starts getting much more difficult. Your defense stops being as relevant as before. It now really depends on how much damage you can deal. So onto consumables, you want to be using rock tails, nothing less. You also want to be using overloads, hence the 96 Herblore, and preferably you want to be using a beast of burden for that extra food space. Just in case you fail, because you will fail on these bosses the first time you do them. If you like miss some of their abilities, like miss dodging their abilities, or you do something like some mistake because you're new to it, you will die if you don't have enough food to just heal up. And some of these are one shots, so yeah. Now we're on to the top bosses, level 90 plus bosses, and these are like your endgame bosses. So that's Kalphite King, Viraga, Rise of Sex, Araxi, Raid, and any quest that you have that says the boss scales with your level. Unfortunately, bosses which scale with level are much harder for higher levels than they are for lower levels. So at higher levels they expect you to be using things like overloads. So equipment wise, so level 70 power armor stops being as useful here. You want to be using Superior Elite Void for some of these fights, which have a higher accuracy and higher damage bonus than the power armor. They've got a lot less defense, but like defense is not really relevant in most of these bosses. I think only Kalphite King actually you need defense for. If you're tanking bosses, then Port's armor because the health bonus. Aside from that, don't use it. Or level 90 armor. If you have level 90 armor, some of these bosses will be so much more difficult if you don't have level 90 power armor. And unfortunately, these are expensive to get and maintain. But then again, so are the level 90 weapons, which you need for these. So 90 weapons, you're looking at Drygores, Noxious Scythe, Seismics, anything Noxus and Ascension Crossbows. I've already done a video on weapons. So the levels you're going to want, the changes here over level 80 to 90 bosses is that you're going to want 95 prayer rather than just 92, because you're going to be wanting to use turmoil. Honestly, I would not attempt these bosses, except for the scaling quest bosses, but obviously you don't really have a choice. So those are sort of the odd ones out, but for the rest of these bosses, nothing less than 99 in every combat skill, aside from like prayer and summoning, which you don't particularly need as high because they stop being as useful at level 95 and level 96 respectively. But you're going to want definitely 99 HP, defense, attack, strength, range and mage. 96 summoning is really sort of required, because Pack-Yak is really useful on some bosses, but you might also be using familiars to do damage as well, or using their abilities. So you want a wide range of potential familiars you could be using. 96 Herblore is an absolute must because you need overloads for these. So the consumables you're going to want to take are rocktails or any better food that you have. I would suggest the better food possible. Sure, it's going to cost more, but it will cost more in repairs if you keep dying to these bosses rather than using rocktails. So you're also going to want to be using overloads, and you're going to want enough pouches for familiars and scrolls for familiars, but that really depends on the boss somewhat. So you want to be looking at bosses before and seeing what you need for them. So yeah, that's about it for this video. So thank you for watching, and I hope you found it useful. So yeah, I'll see you guys later.